What did it take you to realize that it was time to wake up? To wake up to something bigger that your heart was calling you forward to experience, to wake up to a role that you have to play in the world. Today's conversation is with Dr. Varun Gandhi, who's a life orchestrator, a soulpreneur, an inventor, a philanthropist. He's going to share with us how to be socially conscious, how to be conscious of our own needs and desires, and how to navigate a world that tells us how we're supposed to be and instead be who we are. Join us to find out more.
Soul Nectar Show, the Soul Nectar Show. You're invited, delighted to discover who you are. Anything is possible if you believe. So join us on this beautiful journey. Soul Nectar Show, Soul Nectar Show.
Before we start this episode, I, Carrie Hummingbird,
And I, Akeem Sami.
want you to know that
You are invited
you're invited
to
join Soul Nectar Tribe.
If you like what you hear on Soul Nectar Show,
You will love being in person with us in Soul Nectar Tribe.
we invite you to check it out. First 30 days is free.
Right now, go to carriehummingbird.com, KERRI hummingbird.com/membership and sign up. We'll see you at our next tribe gathering. And now, on to the show. Hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show, that show where we talk about all things essence, where we gather around the campfire and we share our stories of connection to that which is greater than us, to the great mystery beyond the veil, to those synchronistic moments that lead us inexorably towards something greater, to the mystery of who we are and what we're doing here on this planet at this time. I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird. I love having these conversations. They open up new realizations, new connections, new insights that help us then to transform our understanding of ourselves in the world. And when we're transformed, we become a new person. And when we're a new person, we take new actions. And when we take new actions in a beneficial way, we change the world. And really what we're here to talk about today is exactly that. How do we wake up the world to care about the planet? You guys know this is a passion of mine. I work with the Q'ero shamans down there in Peru. I hear and I feel their connection with all of nature, every blade of grass, every animal, every bird, everything. They feel connected to the mountain spirits. They're connected to everything there. And when you visit, if you come with me to Peru and we visit Peru together, you'll feel that the land is alive. Like Mother Earth is alive. She's not sleeping down there. She's alive. She's awake. She's talking. She's only sleeping where nobody's paying attention. And, that's kind of what we need to work on, isn't it? So we're about to have a really interesting conversation today with Dr. Varun Gandhi, who's here with us. He's a life orchestrator. I love that, by the way, life orchestrator, soulpreneur, angel investor, inventor, philanthropist, and a water doctor. He enjoys orchestrating businesses, events, and ideas about the self. He is currently focused on creating a digital course called What's Your Story, which allows you to create your life film. And so all of this is, of course, according to the passion, the deep, deep passion that Dr. Varun has about helping wake up the world to care about this beautiful planet that we're on. Welcome, Varun, to the show.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Love and abundance. And I am so grateful for being here.
I'm grateful that you're here. I always love every time we talk, you've got such a beautiful smile and a gentle spirit. And it's just nice to hang out with people like that.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I mean, I think I'm a mirror for other people. And so when I see that in front of me, it comes out naturally in me. So it's always fun being in these environments.
It is fun. I like talking with my friends across the planet that are waking up to this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's, I think it's a great time for all of us to be getting more in tune with ourselves, right? There was a long period in my life. It took me about almost 30 years of my life to actually look inside. Up until then, I was always just focused on the outside, going out there, achieving, going out there, getting that next degree, that next achievement, whatever that is, the next step in the ladder. When I finally went through pain and suffering is when I realized, okay, there's something over here as well that I need to, look at and need to really dive into. So in the last about 7 years of my life is that's where I've been focused on, is going within to really understand what's going on. And the culmination of that is this idea of the life film and creating your story and kind of understanding what your past has led to thus far and, where it's going in the future. So yeah, it's, the spiritual journey is very fascinating. I've learned so much about myself, and thus I've learned so much about other people through this whole process. I was born and brought up in Dubai, the Middle East, and kind of like it was the Middle East, but there were a lot of Indians there, so I was kind of amongst the Indian subcontinent and that culture. So there was a lot of competition, a lot of trying to outdo the other person, score better grades, and so my childhood has basically just gone in that, just being in books, studying constantly. Summertime, I'd get to go out and play, and the weekends, and then the summertime, I'd get to go out and do fun things. But otherwise, it was during the weekdays, it was just studying. So that was my life. I was just so focused on that. And when I moved here to America a couple of months before 9/11, it was, I guess, a tumultuous time in my life. I'd never at that point left the environment that I was in for 15 years. Over there, we had all levels of school in one campus. And so we didn't really have to go to a separate campus to meet new people. It was all in the same area, same teachers. It was very familiar. So when I moved here, it was like completely new. I didn't know what was going on. I was completely shocked by everything that I was, experiencing here. And I was this oddball out looking, with a thick Indian accent, not fitting in, going into junior year of high school. When this is the time when in high school, everyone has formed their cliques. So I'm kind of like just standing out in the sidelines, looking for other people to meet. It took me a couple of months to actually get adjusted to the life here. And during those months when I first started school, I'd remember waking up not wanting to go to school, remember just crying. And my mom would just give me that little hope that, hey, just go today, one day, and it'll all be okay. So every day she'd give me that little hope. And then finally I was got comfortable being in school, made some friends, and then I was okay. So it took me a while to get used to this environment. But then once I got used to it, I really enjoyed it. And then I was like, okay, what's next? After high school, I went to college. While I was in college, it was, all about the books and all about studying, scoring good grades, getting great GPA. That was my life. Then what was that? What was after that? A master's degree, an advanced degree. What was after that? A PhD degree. It just kept going in that sense. And it was not heart-centered at all. It was more of like the mind, just, focused on the technical aspects of things. I was in engineering, so it was all, constructing and building. And so it was very, heavy mind focused work. So it was that pain, so when I was just graduating my PhD in the last 6 months, I went through this experience. I was in a relationship for about a year and a half or so. And the last about 6 months or so in this relationship was extremely difficult. Finally, it ended. We both decided that, hey, this is not meant for us. Let's go our separate ways. And that's when the hardest times of my life began, after the breakup. I remember I was still graduating. I was still working on my dissertation, on my thesis. I really had to focus, and I had 3 months left. I really had to focus and hone in on this time. But I was going through this very a lot of pain and suffering in my life. And so I'd wake up in the morning with tears in my eyes, not accepting my reality. I was, I'd have dreams about that old life, and I'd wake up and be like, wait, why is that not true anymore? So I wouldn't accept my reality. It took a long time, about a couple of months to accept this reality. And so, but then I'd wake up every morning like that, and I'd have to go directly into work, like into, finishing up my graduating and all of that. So the one thing that helped me during this moment was comedy. I'd watch, Jon Stewart was on the Daily Show at that time. And that was a 20-minute segment that kind of brought a smile to my face and like gave me a great start to the day. And then I would go into, finishing up my work. So while I was going through all of this, I graduated, and then I moved across country to Idaho, Boise, Idaho. I didn't even know it existed until I went there for the interview. I got a job there, and that's why I moved. Now, this kind of represented that moment of going into the cave, into that darkness. Because Idaho, I didn't know anyone there. It was completely like a blank slate for me. I could have really sat down with myself and understood what was going on inside of me. But instead of doing that, I couldn't deal with that pain and suffering. It was still, way too fresh. So instead I would distract myself. I'd go out, run around, there was some good stuff I would do too, like hiking and things like that. But a lot of it was, hey, let me go party. Let me eat some nasty food. Let me, whatever I could to distract myself away from that pain and suffering. And that lasted for about a year and a half or so. So finally, after so many bottles of alcohol, I remember every Friday night, Saturday night, 3, 4 of us friends would get together and drink like a 750 ml bottle of Jack Daniels or 1 liter bottle of Jack Daniels. We'd finish that on a Friday night. We'd finish another bottle Saturday night. And that was just the pregame part. So it was heavy drinking for at least a year. And after that, I realized I was like killing myself with all this. I was going too fast, putting a lot of poison, toxins in my body. And all of this was very unconscious, not realizing I was doing this, but it was that pain and suffering that was kind of guiding all of my actions and my behaviors at that point in time. So when I realized that I was kind of killing myself, I had to slow down. And I said, I have to do something about this pain and suffering. Like I can't go on with this anymore. And so that's when I started reading Deepak Chopra. I found Deepak Chopra's book called The Book of the Secrets. And the Book of Secrets is a high level, very spiritual book that at that time in my life, I didn't understand 95% of it. I was just getting into spirituality, just stepping into it. I was so focused on the mind at this point. But when I picked up that book, the one thing that stuck with me was meditation. And so that word kind of stuck in my consciousness. And then once I left that job, then I went through this phase in my life where I was very unhappy with my job as well. In that career that I was in. So I graduated with a PhD, went through 10 years of college, and then I landed this job that I was, had all my bills paid for, was living this high life, loving everything that I was part of, but I still wasn't happy. I was still like very empty inside of me. In a way, I was drifting through my life. I felt like society and other people's voices in my head were making decisions. I wasn't truly making those decisions based on my heart and what I really was, cared about. That's when I started waking up. I had this, I'd wake up with this pain in my solar plexus. And this, initially it started out very subtle. Every morning I'd wake up and it was there. But then finally about 2, 3 months into it, I would wake up and it was like, I couldn't ignore that pain. It was so strong every morning. And I realized that, so then I had to sit down with this pain and kind of understand, what is this pain telling me? I went through this unconscious sort of process of asking questions to this pain. I didn't do it consciously, but one of the answers that I received is, it said essentially, why are you going to this job that you don't really care for? And then the other thing that came up is the impact that I'm making in the grand scheme of things was very, very minuscule at this point in my life. And I felt like there was something greater out there for me. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that there was something better, greater out there that would be more fulfilling for me. So at this point in my life, I realized, it's time to leave this job behind. Even though I'd gone through 9.5 years of college to get this degree, to get this job, but it is time to leave it behind because I'm not satisfied in it. So it took me a month to convince myself, a month to convince my parents, because they had a huge role in my life.
Yeah.
And they were completely opposed to it. I told them and they were like, you're crazy. You just went through all of this and now you're going to leave this career behind completely. Why don't you find another job within the same career, maybe with a different company? You'll like that better. And I realized, I've seen a lot of my friends go through this. They'll stick with a job for 2 years, move on to the next company, stick with that job for 2 years, move on to the next company, because they're not happy with the job. They're not happy with that whole career, but they're just trying to find happiness in a different company to work for. I realized I didn't want to do that. So I left the whole thing behind and I moved back from Idaho to Atlanta. And this is where I kind of got into entrepreneurship, and using my background in PhD, I applied it to help international students who want to come to America for grad school and helping them through the whole process, understanding all of that. So that kind of got something inside of me, like woke up something inside of me, wanting to help these people. There was another incident that happened while I was in Idaho. So I was dating someone at that time. She was a Buddhist girl from Tibet, and very different from all of the past relationships that I've had. There was this one time where we were driving underneath a bridge in a Sunday afternoon, and it was kind of in the summertime, so it's warm outside. And while we were driving through underneath this bridge, she looked around and saw there were homeless people, underneath that bridge. They were kind of made home there. And so the first thought that came up in her mind was, I want to get some pizza for them. And this is a person, she was working at an hourly job, making $12 an hour, working 10 hours a day to make ends meet. But she was the one that came up with, said that I want to get pizza for them. Whereas I was living this life where I had all my expenses covered, everything was very happy life. But why didn't I have that thought of wanting to help the people around me? So when I saw that, something kind of arose inside of me. Something said that, okay, there is something out there greater. Like this mind level life that you're living right now is not it. There's something more outside of this. So that incident kind of stuck with me. And since then, I've been in this journey of, giving as much as I can, whether that's my time, whether that's volunteering in some form of fashion, whatever that may be, my resources, my money, whatever it is, just helping someone in some way. I've realized that that is where my passion lies, is I want to be there serving people, in whichever way it may be.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, these moments can be so significant. It's like a moment that it maybe only took 15 minutes or half an hour, but that experience dramatically changes the course of your life if you allow the message of it to really sink into your heart. And I think that what's really going to be or is an experience that Western civilization is going through right now is moving out of so much focus on the mind and into more focus on opening the heart chakra and the heart center, because there's like different information in the heart chakra than there is in the mind, and when we only live like neck up, and not even there because people don't use their throat, right? So it's like chin up, then we're missing out on like most of our being, our body, our spirit, our heart, our soul. Like we're missing out on so much. And we're just like kind of myopically focusing on this like ladder of success. Like this is how you get that successful life. But, it doesn't really work for that many people. So
it does not. And I don't think success does not mean happiness for everyone.
That kind of success, right? It's like, how do you define success? Like if you define success by having a bunch of material stuff, well,
I did live that life and it didn't make me happy. So if someone is striving for that out there, listening to this podcast, I can guarantee you at some point you'll realize that this is not going to make you happy.
Yeah, that new Lexus, it might be nice and sleek, but yeah, it's so what? At some point you don't really care. So it's like finding our way in what I call the matrix, simply because it's such a alluring set of movies, right? I love those movies. They're so accurate in my view as to what this is. But it's like the entire thing is constructed around this idea of acquisition, of consumption. And what if we changed, like talking about before we came on, you pointed out my butterflies and you were like, oh, I really love those butterflies you have behind you. And I mentioned that I always have them behind me. And you asked me, well, why, what's the symbolism there? And I shared that, these caterpillars munch, right? Like it's munch, consume until they get nice and fat. And then at some point they go into a cocoon and they enter an alchemization where they lose themselves entirely. Like whoever they thought they were, like as a caterpillar, that identity just goes like to total mush and goo. It's like, and then in the mush and the goo and in the deconstruction process, down basically to nothingness, out of the nothingness stirs their actual true self, which is the butterfly, and then the butterfly's got to stretch its wings to get out of the cocoon. But so I think we're collectively in that. Like we've got a whole lot of munching going on and a whole lot of consuming without any thought for like long term, like how is this going to affect the planet? I don't care. I'm going to get me mine today. And then that's all that matters because I'm short sighted. I'm only thinking about like today and maybe next week and maybe my next promotion. But I'm not thinking about like, what's the impact of this on society? Like, how is this consumerism affecting everybody? So you came here from a totally different culture and you insert into this weird matrix of like total shine and consumerism is Westernism culture that's all based on acquisition. I just don't think is it like that in India? I know it was about competing to get the money, but like, it seems like it's a different environment in these two cultures.
It's catching up, actually.
Oh, because it's spreading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say that at some point, maybe in the 90s, India was about 10 years behind America and all of the trends that America was setting. But right now, India is maybe a year behind, if that. Like social media, it's everywhere now. So it's like spreads so fast. Consumerism has gone to India, all the designer brands, all of that is there. They're consuming, consuming, consuming. And, India has like 50% of the population is under 24 years of age. So there's a lot of time for people to consume now. Their age is like the 50 years of life left where, so the businesses are wanting to go into India to promote their products and stuff because they realize there's the capacity for consumption in India is vast. So yeah, right now it's very, very close, neck to neck with America. And when I moved here, I was, I'm from the background of Jainism, a religion called Jainism. And essentially, it's the concept of nonviolence, ahimsa, that Martin Luther King Jr. was kind of propounding. That actually comes from Jainism as well. It's one of our tenets. The three main tenets are nonviolence, non-possessiveness, and appreciating the multiplicity of viewpoints. So basically saying that everyone has a perspective and their valid perspective. So that's our three main tenets, and it's very simple religion. We don't eat meat. We're like, if you follow it to the T, we're really supposed to be eating any root vegetables like ginger and garlic and all of that because it's grown underground and there are bacteria that live underground. So when you uproot the vegetables, uproot the garlic, it's kind of disturbing the bacteria, that society, the culture there, the environment there. When we speak, we're supposed to cover our mouths. There's like a little, kind of like a mask. You put a mask on. The whole idea is because there are bacteria that live around you when you're speaking, it's kind of disturbing that environment there. So very, very conscious about every little step that they take in life, and leading a very simple life. So that's kind of my background of, through Jainism, and then coming to America and you see, name brands, designer brands, people just going crazy over, standing in lines for Apple phones and overnight. And mind you, I've done that too, right? Back in the day on Thanksgiving Day, whenever they have those sales, I was one time I was standing outside of Best Buy to get this laptop that I really wanted because it was $200 as opposed to $1,000. So I've done that, but now waking up and realizing that is just, I wasn't doing anything productive with it. I was just consuming, just wanting to, get that next thing. And now I've started to switch into the mode of producing. Let me produce something. Let me create something that other people can benefit from. Whether that is the digital course that I'm working on, whether that's other products, other services that I offer, but it's in this essence of, hey, let me see how I can help another person, support them in their business, support them in their life, help them live a better life in whatever way that may be. And, the other thing I've been focusing for 2022, one of my kind of key words for 2022 is to live with ease. In situations of like this, when I'm interviewing or being interviewed or speaking to a group of people, I always get nervous. I'll always get very tense, I'll start sweating from all the wrong places. This was 10 years ago. That was the me 10 years ago. Actually, even 3 years ago, that was the me. The 2021, 2022, I said, you know what? I need to make the switch. I have to get comfortable. I want to get at ease while I'm in these situations, being in front of a podcast, or whether that's a live audience or a virtual audience. And so what I've done is I've put myself on all these different podcasts, gotten all these interviews in front of me. That way, through time, I've gotten more at ease in these situations. I think it's finding ways to put people at ease. I think that's a superpower that very few people have. I think, Carrie, you have that too. Your voice and the way you converse. I think it just puts other people at ease and helps them open up and share, their everything.
Yeah, I mean, well, thank you. And I can relate to that. It is a process to get comfortable being recorded on a video stream that is going to live forever, probably. And what if I say the wrong thing or somebody gets upset or this and that? But I think that there's a couple of things that go along with this matrix, which are really interesting. I'd like to explore with you. And one of them is this idea of being perfect and having everything perfectly. And I think that drives this need to consume, right? So it's like, if I want to live the perfect life, this is what it looks like. I've seen it in the magazines, and now I've got to have those things and surround myself with those things, versus really understanding that it's an inner job. So when we're in the mode of being perfect, then there's that narcissistic part of the personality that comes forward that kind of leads everything. And it feels inauthentic. It feels like you're being a politician and you're sort of just, presenting an image, right? But at some point, when you switch and you decide to be vulnerable and transparent and messy and human and share from your heart and accept your own self and your own journey, which has been a huge part of my healing, is accepting myself, allowing and embracing that I'm a firebrand. Sometimes I say stuff that pisses people off, and I just got to apologize in retrospect and say, I'm so sorry. And as I've learned to accept that part of me that's opinionated, that's like, I don't like this, or I want to speak up, or I've got a different perspective than the rest and I want to share it. I embrace that part. I embrace myself, and I can embrace you. And so I think it's all really also tied into that thing that you mentioned, the tenet from your religion about accepting the many different voices, right? And even within ourselves, there's many different voices, So getting to know those voices within and accepting, allowing, and embracing them is just like a whole process that I feel is like we're on the cusp in Western civilization, or at least in the US, or in certain pockets have been exploring this deeply. And I think we're on the cusp of a mainstream exploration of this. It's just like budding up out of the wildflowers, out of the earth, like everywhere, where people are trying psychedelics and people are opening up the inner journey. People are doing yoga, meditating, contemplating, talking about, and then it's like, it's all starting to come up now, that inner journey being more important than the outer perception of you. Yes?
Completely agree with that. Recently I just read that there was this NFL quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, out of the Green Bay Packers. He was on a podcast, the Marcus Aubrey podcast, and he was talking about his ayahuasca journey. And so now the news article that I read was that NFL says that ayahuasca is not part of their banned substance policy and things like that. So he's not, Aaron Rodgers is not going to get fined or anything because that was legal in their eyes. So ayahuasca is becoming mainstream because, NFL footballers, this is a super.
And Will Smith too. Yeah. He put it in his book. Yeah.
Yep. And Will Smith is very spiritual. He's, I'd seen his video with meeting with Sadhguru when he had come to LA, and he's deep into it. He's gone to India and visited the river Ganges, where the very highly spiritual places in India. So yeah, it's spreading, and I feel like as more and more people wake up, like you were saying, they're coming, budding out of the ground. As more and more people are waking up, they're going into this into the cycle of waking other people up as well. And so once that starts spreading and more kind of get into this ball, it's just going to roll and become that snowball, and it's going to be unstoppable at some point. Right now, there are forces maybe working behind the scenes to hold everything together, hold all of these pieces together, like the Matrix, kind of hold all of it together, but it's illusion. And I think it's been all of the stories that we've been told. It's been all of the narrative out there it's being controlled and manipulated. And I feel like more and more people are realizing this and kind of waking up to this fact that what we're being told may not be the whole truth. There might be more to it that is kind of being hidden or not being shared. And so I feel like, as when more and more people wake up, it's going to be time for all these forces, all these powers that are kind of behind the scenes working actively. They're going to start falling apart. And that's going to be a great time for everyone, huh?
Yeah, more freedom. A couple of things I'm thinking about as you're sharing is well, the first thing is, I just imagine that for you coming to this country, it might have been shocking coming from a religion where they value different perspectives to come into a place where there's like intolerance of different people's perspective, because that's really, even though we call America the melting pot, it's kind of not really true. It's kind of like, no, only if you agree with me.
It's a boiling pot, not a melting pot.
It's a boiling pot. It's like, you shall be melted down and boiled until you comply with the way we see things, right? Isn't it kind of like that?
It is. It very so is. And yeah, it's very unfortunate that it's like that. It's not open. It's politics is supposed to be for everyone, but I feel like it's being controlled in many ways. That's the nature of the beast. And as more and more people wake up, they're gonna step out of that system. They're gonna start realizing things, and they won't subscribe to it anymore. I feel like it's what most of us subscribe to. That's what's accepted in life. And as people are stop subscribing to these different ideas or these different thought processes, they're gonna things are gonna start switching.
I feel like the key lies in that recognition, or the relaxing into the self, right? The relaxing into who you are in truth. It's like, when you're really in that place of accepting yourself, you don't need to defend yourself. So not needing to defend yourself means you can listen to different perspectives without being threatened. But while you don't accept yourself, and you're in a sort of culture that says in order to be accepted, you have to fit in and comply, then there's like this dogmatic like intolerance towards other people's cultures, perspectives, religions. I mean, and that intolerance is what creates war and conflict. Versus like the talking stick. I love the talking stick from the Native American traditions as just a way of saying there's value in every perspective, from the youngest of us to the oldest of us, that all of it needs to be heard before we come to a decision. And that's what they did in the tribal system, and they still do today, is they practice the use of the talking stick. It's like, you have the talking stick, it's your turn to share. And then it goes to the next person, and everybody's heard before a decision's made. That's what's missing in our society and in our world, really.
Yeah, I think it's the part of that is like the humanity within people, right? I don't think it's there yet. At least not minority of us have that. It's kind of coming out, but a lot of us are missing that humanity within. And I didn't have it for a while in my life. I was like that mind brain. It's not heart centered, which is where humanity comes from, and just that care and loving for another person, and for the self as well. Like you mentioned, it starts from within, and it is an inner game. At the end of the day, it starts from within. If you're in conflict with yourself, you're going to find conflict everywhere around you as well, and you'll want to get into more conflict. And so yeah, it's like you said, it's perfectly right. Like tranquility and serenity from within, and that's where it starts.
Yeah, but in order to get to interested in tranquility and serenity, but then we got to suffer, don't we?
We do have to suffer. We do have to suffer. I mean, like the caterpillar has to go through its journey, we have to go through our journey. I mean, I'll tell you, the 2 years in my life where I was going through all of that pain and suffering, I wasn't diagnosed clinically as depressed, but I would say I was. It was a very rough time. I mean, I was dating another person, but I still wasn't happy because I was so focused on that relationship, because it was, in a way, it was perfect. Like, it was that relationship that I really wanted to have. I had seen myself, with her, living in suburbia with 2 kids and a dog, and that whole life, the American dream. And when that fell apart, I just couldn't handle it. I couldn't accept myself. I felt like a lot of my self-worth was also on her, was dependent on her. And once that fell apart, I lost that confidence in myself as well. So it took a lot of time to get that confidence back in me, and be able to put myself out there. But you have to go through that pain and suffering. Well, most people go through that pain and suffering to get to that point of spirituality and opening up. But some people are naturally curious that they kind of get there on their own as well. I've seen that, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, usually we get stubborn and intolerant and just keep going, right, in the direction that we shouldn't be going. It's like looking for love in all the wrong places. I actually love listening to songs now because, mainstream songs everybody loves, like looking for love in all the wrong places. It's like, dude, that's the journey. Like, until you realize it's not out there, you keep looking everywhere, and then you actually find it within. That's the only place it is. But to know that we kind of can get inspired by other people, like you were so inspired by this muse that you had in your life that was like pointing you to something that you wanted to awaken within yourself potentially, but it's not meant to be like the answer, the end of the story for those of us who are really meant to wake up in this lifetime. So sometimes, unfortunately, and somebody, a beloved person in my life is going through this right now. It's like that person that it means so much, that woke something up in you that you admired so much. You wanted to spend all that time with them and call them your person. Sometimes they move on. And in that moving on is that opportunity to feel that pain and really appreciate how much that meant to you. And then explore, like, what is it that that person represented that means so much to me that I want to awaken within myself?
Yeah, I completely agree that it took me a long time to kind of get to that point of acceptance of, because initially, like 2 years, there was a lot of like conflict, just resisting the whole situation. I didn't want to, yeah, I wanted to get back with her and all of that. So it's got a lot of resistance. But finally, it took me like a few years to get to the point of, okay, let me just accept the situation and be grateful for the times I've had with her, be grateful for everything that she's taught me. I mean, I really appreciated the confidence that she had, the confidence that she carried herself with. And I think that was one of the reasons that I got really attracted to her, because I lacked that confidence, right? So that was one of the needs that I was looking for, in the sense that I would get very nervous. I'd bite my nails constantly before her. But after we broke up, after, like during the relationship, I stopped biting my nails because I saw that confidence in her. So I didn't get nervous, and I was also confident as well. So yeah, I think it takes a while for people to finally accept that, okay, this person actually did some good in my life. You know, they were beneficial in a lot of different ways, and there was just a few ways that we didn't work out. But it took me a while to get there, and I think it definitely will take people as well.
Yeah. And take the journey, like go into the mystery of it, have curiosity and don't rush yourself. Like if you feel angry, feel angry. If you feel betrayed, feel betrayed. If you feel pain, feel pain. If you feel grief and let it be what it is, because that's the whole experience, right? We're not here to just like skate along on the perfect cloud, and never have any bad, this whole good bad thing. That's like
Right.
really
Yeah.
kind of not true, right?
Yeah, I mean, good and bad is subjective, right? Like what's good and bad for you is different for me, and so it's
And
uh,
that's because you understand different perspectives, right? And so,
yeah.
yeah, it's all tied to this shift in consciousness out of like, there's one right way to do it, and it's written in this certain book. Every other way is ridiculous.
No, your way is wrong, my way is right.
Yeah, and that way has led to so much destruction on the planet, and just pain and suffering of peoples for centuries. And now we need to move beyond that, right? We need to like accept that there are different designs and it's intentional, so we can learn from each other.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's you mentioned curiosity. I feel like when we get into that mind-centered space, the curiosity kind of dies. At least it did in me. So awakening that curiosity inside of you, I think that's something that somewhere the people can start as well. You know, if they don't want to go through that pain and suffering route, then finding a way to awaken that curiosity inside of you and be curious about things. Because I think our school system, education system, kind of kills that curiosity, the creativity inside of us as kids, and finding a way to get back to that. There's just like I think it was Friedrich Nietzsche who kind of written this, the journey of a person where they start off as a baby and then they go through three different phases. The first one's the camel phase, the second one's the lion phase, and the third one's the baby phase again. The camel phase is where they want to go out into this world and take on burdens on themselves. They want to, kind of fight and have that resistance inside of them and just push, push, push kind of. The lion is that I'm going to take, it's like that activated solar plexus. I'm going to take action. I'm going to charge ahead. I'm going to, like that mentality of I'm going to just seize the day and get that shit done, that kind of thing. And then finally getting back to that baby phase where, just playing with life, just being very playful, bringing this jolly environment and in flow, like allowing things to happen as opposed to taking control. And so I think I've gone through this as well. I've seen different phases where I'm in the camel and then I've gone to transform to the lion and then back to the baby. So I'm kind of like transitioning to that baby phase now, is just being more at ease and just more joyful and whatever experience that comes about, whether that's anger, whether that's grief, whatever it is, just allowing that to be. And there was times where I would push it away, like, oh, this is the wrong thing to feel right now. I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be feeling like this. Why am I feeling like this? And I'd want to run away from it, realizing that, no, it's okay. It's all right. It's okay to feel like that, and accepting that.
So what I love this, and that points to innocence, right? It's that curious innocence. And innocence says, I don't like babies, they don't know what's going to happen next. They're delighted by the whole thing. They're just like, oh, I wonder what would happen if I did this. And then they find out, right? So what if the whole world, what if a, a tipping point of humanity, some tipping point number of humanity was able to get to the place of knowing themselves in truth and being curious, being open to listen to each other, being secure in themselves? What would happen on the planet, do you think?
Oh, we're going to be elevating consciousness so quick.
Because they're coming together, right? Like there's a focused
community
convergence of the energy.
Yeah. And then, when you have that focused energy, more and more people are going to flock to it. More and more people are going to start waking up because they're going to see light in this, focused energy. And so that's going to, the tipping point is going to start like just going like snowball effect and just bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. It's just going to elevate consciousness so quickly.
Yeah. So keep doing what you're doing, everybody. You guys are listening to this podcast. You are engaged in the process of elevating consciousness. We talked about this in the Second Wave book. Jennifer Huff, one of my contributors, talked about how we are beings of light and we're always transmitting our photon beams of light out to other people, just like plants, So we're always sharing our light frequencies. So, as we're having this conversation, Varun and I have been having and sharing with everybody who's listening, even if you haven't been watching us, you're still receiving it through the frequency of our voices and the combinations of the energies. And so you've been included on this. And so we're all agreeing to this convergence of the kind of world we want to see happen, of the kind of experience we want to have on earth, more peaceful, more curious, more innocent, more creative. And we're all kind of co-creating that even right now in this moment. And whoever's listening and tuning in and sharing it out with some more friends, that's creating this energy even bigger. And this is just one small example of how we're changing the planet, isn't it, Varun?
Oh, definitely. I don't know if it's a small example. It's a great example of the planet. And I think it's needed. Everyone putting in their bit, it's all needed to transform ourselves and then transform this earth so that, we can make it a long-lasting place to be. We don't want to think about sustainability. Like you mentioned earlier, a lot of people are focused on their lifetime and that's it. Like, I don't care what happens after I die. I don't care what happens after this decade. It's just this decade, I'm going to consume, take as much as I can because it's all about me. And kind of removing yourself from that mindset and realizing that, look, we're all in this together. We're literally one big boat moving in a direction. And if we don't row together, we won't go anywhere. We're just going to stay in the same place. So we got to, be very conscious about every action that we take. We got to be conscious about every word that we speak and be conscious about the thoughts that we have. All of it's very important.
Oh, potent words from Varun. Thank you so much for coming on. I know that you have your new course and it's on your website. I will put the link in the show notes. Is there any last thing you want to share before we give people kisses on the way out?
Yeah, actually I wanted to bring up a little project that we've been working on. This is for the last 2 years since the pandemic started. Kind of the backstory behind this is, when the pandemic hit, businesses started closing down. We didn't know, there's a lot of uncertainty. People started losing their jobs. They didn't have income. They couldn't put food on the table. And so in April 2020, I got this call from a friend. We've put together different cultural events and things like that. And he said, you know what, there's this organization that wants to donate funds. They don't know what to do, but they're looking to get our help. What can we offer? And so him and I kind of brainstormed a few ideas and we came up with this idea of providing food, like grocery supplies to people. And so we met up one Sunday. We got a group of volunteers, got up all these resources, and we started creating grocery bags of supplies to people. The first time we met, we made 400 bags. Then we said, okay, let's meet again next Sunday, and following Sunday. And we finally ended up meeting for about 20 Sundays. We put together 8,400 grocery bags. And in the first few weeks, we realized that not everyone has the space to prepare the meals, take the supplies and cook. So we said, why not prepare hot meals? And so we started preparing hot meals in our kitchen. We started with 100 meals, 200 meals. Gradually, we went up to 1,000 meals every Sunday. Now we're doing somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000 meals. And last month, we crossed 200,000 meals. We've been continuing doing this all the way through 2022, and we'll be doing it in 2023 as well. So this is in the LA area. We've been feeding the homeless population, the women, the abused women, neglected people. Whoever is hungry, we're feeding them. Every Sunday, we prepare about 1,500 to 2,000 meals. And for this, we're running a kind of GoFundMe campaign to raise funds. So if anyone's interested in donating, please, I'll share the GoFundMe link with you, Carrie, if you could put that in the show notes. We'd love to have any kind of donations. Also, if you live in the LA area, in Orange County area, you want to volunteer on Sunday morning, reach out to me. We'd love to have you. We'd love to include you in our community and help and serve people and feed people who really need the food.
That is really beautiful. Thank you so much for bringing that into the episode and sharing that with people. I will definitely put the link in your GoFundMe, and please consider everybody who's listening making a donation and supporting this. I mean, this is really a demonstration of taking inspired action that supports a bunch of people during a time when they actually need some help and love and support, and help them get through that.
We realize there's so many people out there that are living out on the streets that go hungry every night. There are organizations that want to go out and do the good work of giving out the food to them, right? They have volunteers. They want to do that. One of their kind of the place that they need help with is preparing the meals, because they would have to raise donations, buy the supplies, prepare the food, and then go out into the streets to deliver the meals. We said, you know what, we'll take care of the donations. We'll take care of the preparing the meals. You come pick up the meals from us, go out into the streets, into your neighborhoods, and distribute them. And that's how we've operated, and it's been very successful. Also, the other thing is, if anyone is interested in doing something similar in their city, we're actually creating a template for being able to replicate what we're doing here on any level. If you want to create 100 meals, if you want to create 200 meals, you want to create 10,000 meals, you could do all of that through this template. So reach out to me for that as well.
Oh, that's beautiful. Perfect. Well, I will definitely include that in the show notes. That's gorgeous. Thank you so much for sharing that and for doing your good work in the world and helping others. That's the kind of world I want to see New Earth become. And so thanks for doing that legwork to make it so. And in the meantime, please, everybody, like, share, subscribe, share this out with people who might be interested in these messages we heard today, and give us a rating. That helps just get the word out even more and grow this conversation. Let's grow this kind of conversation. This kind of conversation is going someplace productive for the long term. So let's grow this. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to give you guys kisses. Thanks for staying till the end. We appreciate you. And here come your kisses. You want to join me, Varun, with some kisses? We love you, people. Mwah. We love you so much, and we'll see you next time on Soul Nectar Show. Bye for now. If you found even one gold nugget in this episode of Soul Nectar Show, will you do us a favor? Will you subscribe, like, and share this episode? Maybe even write a comment and let us know what you thought about it. We really, really want to engage with you at a much deeper level. Let's be part of community together. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now. To dive in deeper to nourishing conversation, visit soulnectar.show.
Soul Nectar Show. Awaken the Show. Take a sip from the drip of nectar, from the source of who you are.